Devereaux!
I'm Mr. Devereaux.
What's that humming mean?
Beethoven's Fifth.
I never said I was more than I am.
Welcome everyone to episode 52 of Kiss Meets Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Eli Van Halen.
I'm Branton Van Halen.
I am Luke Van Halen.
And we are the Kisses.
We're the Ramones.
First of all, just wanted to say a happy birthday to Bruce Kulick, celebrating his birthday today. Happy birthday, Bruce. Alright, so do we even want to get into the new Gene, running his mouth about tribute bands now?
I like how Grant kind of morphed into complaining about file sharing and everything again, which once again, I agree with everything he's saying about it, but I thought it was kind of funny how he trailed off.
Yeah, it seems like every interview he finds a way to complain about file sharing one way or another. Ask him how the weather was today. Oh, it's nice out, but man, these file shares.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be as cloudy.
Be nicer out if I were incentivized to make another album.
Now, I didn't even pull up the, all of the comments and stuff that he made, but, it kind of hits close to home with us being in a tribute band, and, saying, what was he saying, that they expect all the bands to send them a letter of thank yous and this and that, and, they can put an end to it if they want, fine, but, we're not out there, we're not getting up on stage calling ourselves Kiss, or promoting as Kiss, or trying to make extra money calling ourselves Kiss to try to pull the wool over anybody's eye. And, we're not going by their names like, if somebody asks our name, oh, I'm Eric Carr.
Which one of you is Tommy Thayer, though?
So a technical difficulty type of day, I see.
I gotta love it.
Oh, man. So, anyway, Tommy is probably back in his bedroom right now. Sam?
Yeah, exactly.
He's our Tommy. No, I don't know. It's just, it kind of irks me, the whole send us a letter. Okay, where do you want us to send it to? And, that's going to mean crap,
Right.
If anything, all of the tribute bands are helping keep Kiss's name relevant, and, we're honoring the past, and, keeping that music alive, and in some cases we're, inspiring people that maybe haven't pulled out their Kiss records in a while, or didn't give Kiss a chance to give them a chance, or go pull out the old records, or go, buy a couple of the albums they don't have, and, things like that. It's so if anything, it's like, send us the thank you letter for helping keep your name relevant,
Right?
By the way, are you still froze? You're froze on my side.
Yeah, same.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, everything's completely fine on my end.
Weird.
The video's froze over here.
That's creepy. Yeah, it is over here as well.
It is creepy.
Everything's cool on my end. That's weird.
You're looking awfully concerned.
And sort of constipated. Now he's gone for good. There he is. See how easy that was? You do that when you're playing drums? Spit blood and everything. Breathe fire while you're playing drums.
Well, the only reason I spit blood is because I lick the sticks and I get a bunch of splinters in my tongue, so a bunch of blood comes out.
I can see.
Hand me a tampon. I don't know. What do you got to say about it, Luke? I mean, you're part of the tribute thing too, so.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty much right there with you. I mean, I don't think it's as big a problem as he sort of made it out to be. It felt like a pretty pointless statement that he was saying, well, we could squash it if we want, but we think it's cool.
Yeah.
Like, okay, well then why did you say anything? You know,
It's kind of like that idle threat type thing. Like, ooh, we better be thinking our lucky stars, or, something like that. And
What brought it up anyway? Did someone ask him a question about it, or?
I think Jericho kind of asked him, like, hey, what do you think about all the tribute bands? And then of course he just went off on that tangent and led into the file sharing and all that stuff. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I could totally understand if there's a tribute band that's getting up, calling themselves Kiss, or when they contact the promoter of the venue, they're trying to pull one over on them. Like, yeah, we are Kiss, and blah blah blah. We want this much money. Yeah. And by the way, my name is Gene Simmons, and all that. I can totally understand that, but not getting up there with all the creative names that the tribute bands come up with, and just honoring the legacy and keeping that stuff alive. And that's one of the only ways you're going to hear a lot of those deep cuts that Kiss won't play is from the tribute bands.
Did he say specifically if he had a problem with the makeup and costumes, or because of the music, or did he go into that?
I think he was complaining about the makeup itself because it's the whole. He was saying something about the thing they created, and they have the rights to that and all that stuff, and basically they're just letting all of the tribute bands borrow that. And okay, I get it, but again, we're not selling. Here's a shirt with the makeup I wear, and by the way, I created the makeup, so buy this.
The shirts that I have of Mr. Speed, they don't have, at least none of the shirts that I have has their faces on it.
Right. And really, if you wanted to get real anal with, especially Gene saying that kind of thing, it's like, okay, so send a thank you letter to the Beatles and the Stones and them guys that you took a lot of your riffs from and tried to emulate yourself when you were coming up in the music business. So it kind of goes both ways if you really want to get that anal about it.
Not too long ago, they took Zeppelin to court because they said they ripped off all those blues guys.
Yeah.
And some of their songs are even the lyrics are like almost the same song in a lot of ways. But, But to me, it's not, I mean, I don't know. I guess you can look at it both ways, but it's sort of, they took something that already existed and made something else out of it, really. Mm-hmm. And the tribute bands are not even really doing that. They're trying to stay true to, what, like you said, the past, as far as Kiss goes. And I don't see how that is, like you said, you're not selling a product technically and claiming Kiss. I mean, like, if you sell T-shirts, for example, you have the tribute band, the name of the tribute band. Is Kiss's songs copyrighted too? I mean, I don't know how that works. Or is that even relevant?
Well, wouldn't that just come to an effect if we were to sit there and record a album of us playing the music and then trying to sell that? I think that would probably come into effect then.
Would be a legal issue, yeah.
Right. If we didn't have, the legal rights to sell a tribute CD or whatever.
So, like, for example, with that classic 78, it's not the same thing at all because they don't technically tour and they're not wearing makeup and stuff. So nobody knows who they are more than likely.
Exactly.
So is that what Gene would prefer, I wonder? Or, you know what I mean? But that's like, they sound more like Kiss than Kiss does.
Nowadays, yeah.
Yeah, so.
Well, I was kind of going to say that, but I didn't want to come off, sounding egotistical. But yeah, in some cases, the tribute bands sound better than the real thing right now. And especially some of them songs that they won't play anymore, or maybe they do play, but it's not, as good as it used to be. But, and, that might be a whole different side of the fence, but just the whole thing in general, you should send us a letter or, thank your lucky stars because we can end you just like that, like we don't have any other fallback plan. I mean, maybe some of them guys don't. Maybe that's the only thing they do is the Kiss tribute band, and they would be completely lost, in the music world and not have anything else to fall back on. Or
Kiss is such a complicated thing that, I mean, how many people have you heard say, probably not so much now, and I don't agree with this at all, but a lot of people would say that Kiss is a tribute band themselves at this point, or they have said that in the past. I don't feel that way. I've never felt that way.
I don't either, especially when you have the two original guys in the band. I mean, that's...
Right.
But yeah, I have heard people say that. And
at least they say it's like half a tribute band, but it's funny because no one, like, okay, Stephen Pearcy leaves Rat, and they go on and they're still called Rat with some other lead singer.
Right.
No one says anything. You know what I mean? They might say, "Oh, I prefer Stephen Pearcy over whoever," or whatever band it is. But when it comes to Kiss, it's like it's a totally different thing altogether with everything they do, just because of the makeup and the characters that the current band is doing, or whatever. I mean, because a lot of the tribute bands that I've seen, not that I've seen a lot, they're sort of doing, like, say, okay, like Ace Frehley, for example. If one of the guitarists is playing Ace or the Spaceman, whichever way you want to call it, he's doing signature things that Ace did, whether it's his mannerisms or if it's his guitar playing or whatever, maybe even a smoking guitar if they have enough, if they're that far advanced, whatever. But Tommy doesn't really, to me, Tommy doesn't really do those things. I mean, he's never done a smoking guitar. He's stood in smoke while he's playing a guitar solo, and it sort of looks like that, but that's what they're going for. But I think Ace owns that, so they can't really do it. But I don't know, it's just very complicated, seems like.
I think some people just get tweaked when they hear him do Shock Me and doing the whole like rocket thing out of the guitar. And I think a lot of the reason you hear some people do say that they're a tribute band is because of Tommy, because he came from a tribute band back in the day. So people just kind of twist it however they want.
What if, for example, back in the 80s, I think it was the Crazy Nights tour, Gene used to do the thing out of the end of his guitar.
Oh, yeah.
No one said a word about that.
Yeah,
right.
True.
I mean, as far as anything negative. What if on the current lineup, what if Paul was doing that instead of Tommy? Nobody would say anything.
Well, I mean...
It's funny.
When they were doing that thing where Eric and Tommy was doing a dual solo, and Eric would pull out like that bazooka, that was his own thing. That nobody, yeah. Peter, Eric, Carr never did that, but everybody seemed to sort of brush that aside. Oh, we don't want to pay attention to that because that's an original thing that he came up with. Let's just focus on what Tommy's doing, and everything else that just anything we can bitch about and complain.
That's what it really comes down to, I think, is the age of the internet and the age of people who just want something to complain about.
Yeah, social media, man. So many people say things hidden behind their computer that, if you were to see them in person, whole different story. That's one of the double-edged swords about social media that really grinds my gears these days.
Well, if you was to see them in person, you wouldn't recognize them anyway because they'd have Kiss stuff on.
Right.
Yeah, and they sure as hell wouldn't say, "Oh, I'm so-and-so who was running their mouth," or anything like that. "Oh, how's it going, man? Oh, yeah, cool. Oh, let's hang out."
Well, people do that when they meet a member of the band.
Mm-hmm.
They talk crap about them, and then they go to an expo or whatever it is, or they get the platinum package, whatever, backstage, and that's like, they're the, and it can be anybody, it can be Eric or Tommy, either one, and they treat them just like Paul and Gene.
Right. I mean,
and it should be that way, but they shouldn't be saying all that stuff, otherwise.
Any three of us could join Kiss tomorrow, and as long as it's still Gene or Paul or both, it's still freaking Kiss. It doesn't mean it's a tribute band all of a sudden. You can't call it a tribute band when the guys that started the freaking band mainly are still there. I mean,
yeah.
Hell, it's kind of similar with the biogenesis. I mean, you still got the two basically original guys, and it's still biogenesis. It doesn't matter who else is in the band. It's the ones that pretty much started it. You know,
I think it's the makeup more than anything, because back in the '80s, when Vinnie Vincent or Eric Carr or Bruce Kulick or anybody was in the band, no one ever said that. I'd never heard anything like that.
no,
But as soon as they put the makeup back on and then Ace and Peter leave again, well, I mean, that's really no different, but because of the makeup,
Right.
that's where all that comes from, which is hilarious if you think about it.
it is, and because it really was like a whole different band when Eric and Bruce were in the band, Eric Carr, because it was more like they were an '80s metal band at that time. I mean, it really was a night and day difference from the '70s stuff, in that whole era. And so now there's not really that difference with having Eric Singer and Tommy, because they're doing all the makeup stuff, and it's kind of hard to. But if they were all doing it out of makeup with those two guys, I bet you wouldn't hear anything. There would be nothing to complain about.
Oh yeah. And I don't know what those people want anyway. You know what I mean? I mean, we heard years ago what it sounded like when Ace and Peter tried to play those songs, and let's face it wasn't that good.
Yeah.
It was more for nostalgia than for the music's sake, and if Gene and Paul decide to move on for the music's sake, who are we to tell them they should have to shut it down?
Well,
That doesn't
and
make any sense.
all these people that they should have come up with their own character for Eric and Tom. This is how hypocritical the internet would be, because if they were to do that tomorrow, everybody'd be complaining about what they chose and what their character is now. Oh, that's stupid. Look at that's generic. That's how hypocritical. Some of them people are just never happy. They just have to constantly be an internet troll. But then some of those people are probably the same people buying the meet and greets backstage and all that stuff to go meet the band.
Right.
And then they get home and either throw the stuff on eBay to sell, and then they go on their message board and complain at the same time about Eric and Tommy, and it's just, where's it end?
Well, I've always thought about, like, when Peter left at the end of the farewell tour,
Mm-hmm.
and they had those shows already booked, and Eric had joined to finish up the dates that they had in wherever, Australia or wherever it was, Japan. Because he had makeup on, it almost seemed natural that when Ace left, they had to get somebody to wear the makeup. It's like if Peter had finished and Ace had finished the farewell tour, I think Paul and Gene would have dropped the makeup. Whether they continued or not, I think they would have continued without the makeup, because there wouldn't have been a reason for them to feel like, oh, well, now we've got Eric wearing the makeup, so now we need someone to replace Ace. Well, he should wear makeup. You know what I mean? It's almost like it was a gradual thing that happened without them. They didn't plan it that way. I don't think they could have planned it that way, because I sincerely think that the farewell tour was intentionally meant to be a farewell, at least in the beginning, until they changed their mind and realized, oh, well, we're just losing Peter and Ace. Now we can do whatever we want, if makeup or non-makeup. But I think if they would have dropped the makeup after the farewell tour, then I'm not saying I would want them to do that. But at this point, all the stuff that has happened since then, as far as people complaining about the makeup and the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and all that stuff, none of that would have ever probably happened. At least, the arguments and stuff.
Right.
Well, I mean, for all intents and purposes, when Eric did come in at that point, he literally was just filling the spot, because Peter refused, and what else were they going to do? Cancel the whole leg of the tour?
Well, that's why I wonder what made them to decide that, okay, he filled in, and now we're done with the farewell tour. I mean, how far did Ace go? Did he finish it? He went all the way up to the end of it?
Mm-hmm.
Because he left on the Olympics, was the last public thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, because they had that show booked in Jamaica, that private show, Tommy had to do that, and then I think they did the Dick Clark thing for TV, and then they did the symphony, something like that. You think the
at some
symphony?
point Peter came back for a minute.
Right. Yeah, he did come back for the symphony. and then that's when it started to get really strange because members were in and out, and I don't really know what the deal was with all that. I mean, I sort of do, but all that's very unnecessary.
And really, the only reason Peter was there as long as he was that time was because of that Aerosmith tour, and had Ace agreed to do it, it would have been Ace instead of Peter.
Right. Because wasn't there a contractual thing that they had to have 3 original members or something?
Right. And of course I'm pretty sure Paul said himself in his book that they pretty much would have rather had Ace, but he didn't agree, so they pretty much had to go with Peter. I mean, not to, underestimate him that much, but, the way things were at the time anyway.
Right.
I just picture that in my head, like I'd said before, if they had took the makeup off at the farewell tour, and it wouldn't matter who was in the band after that, Kiss Symphony would have just been like a Live 3, the DVD of that. It wouldn't have been the makeup and all that stuff. So it's hard to think about that now because the whole orchestra was in makeup.
And, the symphony, yeah, it would have been that much better had Ace been there and it was the 4 guys, because, really that's kind of how it was meant to be, like, if you think Kiss doing the symphony, because I'm pretty sure at the time I thought it was going to be all 4 original, like, as far as we knew, Ace was still there. And then, but I mean, it's still a good show. I enjoy it, but that's probably one of the reasons people do kind of critique it is because it's Tommy and not Ace. But I don't know. It just gets to that.
File sharing stuff.
Well, let me tell you. It's like a Hulk Hogan promo or something, the way Gene gets it. Let me tell you something, brother. This file sharing's going to go down.
I just wish he would dress like Hulk Hogan.
That would be funny.
What you going to do when Gino runs wild on you?
And by run wild, you mean he's going to hit me on the head with his book, right?
And he's going to tell the weather. Jeez. Yeah, how about, speaking of sending letters, how about send a letter of apology to Fox News? Oh, God. Well, alright, let's get into the first part of our planned topic for this week. So what we decided to do, we decided to come up with basically a fantasy album, but all the tracks are nothing but either demo versions or the unreleased tracks. There's a huge selection of that stuff to go through, so we figured it'd be fun to do something a little different like that instead of just sticking with all the studio albums. So originally, like, I was going to do basically a 10 song, which was pretty much the common Kiss album in the early days, but I ended up stretching it out to 12. So there was a few things I had forgot, so I had to stretch my album out a little bit more, nothing too much. What'd you guys go with? 10?
Yeah, I did 10.
I haven't really even. I haven't really even.
As always, Brandon's prepared.
Yeah, when I was going through it, it's sort of like you said, Luke. It's not really something that's cohesive enough to where you can. I don't know. I mean, I didn't really know where to start because it's like I didn't really want any of the Peter demos on there because they didn't really, they don't sound like a Kiss song, which I understand that, a lot of his stuff was like that. So, and it's not about the quality of it. It's about the actual sound of the song. And I know it's a fantasy album, technically, but I was trying to picture it in the context of, and I overthink everything, so that's a big problem. I was trying to think about, okay, is this like something that Kiss released? Or is it something that, like you don't know who Kiss is and then they release it or whatever? But either way, it's still, there's not enough stuff, because I wanted a fair amount from each member. But then, once again, you go back to, should I do the 4 original guys, or should I include Vinnie Vincent stuff? You know what I mean? So I just overthink it, and then I end up at a dead end.
I think with mine, it was like, it's just kind of like an alternate reality. It's almost like this could either be the first album, or this could have even come instead of Alive. Like, this could have been the album, and even with the songs, though, it doesn't matter. Like, this could have just all been at that particular time frame, not the way we know some of these songs, in the time frame that they really are. Sort of that type of thing, It's like a Scooby-Doo universe.
Well, I was looking through the Wicked Lester stuff, and it's like there's so much of that. I mean, there's a lot of the albums, the final tracks, that I've heard. But then there's all of the demo versions of stuff, and then there's a few other songs that wasn't on the original album, I guess. And to me, it's just like, that's just not Kiss, because it technically isn't. So it's like, it's hard to put that on an album. It's same as like Peter solo stuff that was with, I don't know, Lips or Chelsea or whatever. So I don't know, I had a hard time with this. And I didn't really have enough time to do it properly, to be honest. But,
Well, Luke and I will go first, and if you think you can try to throw something together while we go, or
I'll agree or disagree.
there you go. Give some input. I guess I'll start. So mine, again, pretend, Kiss Meets the Phantom never happened, or at least yet. And the title of the album is going to be Rip and Destroy. I kind of picture sort of a Destroyer type of cover, but a little more anarchy and bedlam going on in the photo.
Did you draw it?
I should have. It'd been a bunch of stick figures is all it would have been, but
well, that got more attention than maybe the older album cover.
That is true, actually. So again, it's a 12-song album, 6 songs per side. So again, don't.
So this is vinyl.
Yes, and again, don't think like, oh, this particular song was during it, because this is, pretend all these songs were just wrote or put together at the same time, basically. So first, I'm gonna open the album, pretty similarly with Strutter, but the demo version, because I like the different progression of the demo version versus the studio album version. There's extended, after the chorus, it's a little bit extended before it goes into the second verse, and there's a lot of different things, compared to the album version. I feel like it makes the song better. It doesn't sound as, A-B as the album version does. Definitely a lot more to that. Plus, those Eddie Kramer demos are just, a lot of people always say, and I kind of agree that that's the way the first album should have sounded anyway.
How many of those did he do a full album of demos, or just the ones that we've heard, I wonder?
I think it was like the 7 tracks or something. Strutter, Deuce, Cold Gin, Let Me Know, Black Diamond, 100,000 Years, Let Me Go, Rock and Roll, Watching You. Did I say that?
Yeah.
I think that was all of them.
Because I don't know if you guys have heard the original Motley Crue "Too Fast for Love" on Leather Records mix before they signed with Elektra. Elektra remixed it, and if you listen to the Leather Records mix, that should have been the album. They shouldn't have done anything to it, I think. And it's on YouTube to listen to it, but I think it captures more of what Motley Crue was. It wasn't as polished. How a record label was going to take it and sort of jazz it up a little.
I'd like to hear that. I don't think I've ever heard that version.
And I think if Kiss would have stuck with the Eddie Kramer stuff, I mean, I think Eddie Kramer should have produced every one of their albums. That's just my opinion, because the ones that he did do is probably the best sounding ones, I think.
Yeah, between him and Ezra, and I feel like they should have just went back and forth and worked together and done all the albums. I mean,
Yeah.
So track 2 is Rock and Roll's Royce, a Gene track. Love that. Um, if anybody's been watching the show, and one of our old intros, if you would have called, is a piece from that song. Little instrument break in there. I like that. My favorite part of the song, Rock and Roll's Royce.
And he has like two. There's two songs in there. Like the chorus or the verses is one song, right?
It's Love 'em and Leave 'em, isn't it?
That's right. You know, that's the one, what I was thinking of earlier. I said Mad Dog, but I was thinking of Rock and Roll's Royce.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's Love 'em and Leave 'em, and no, I can't even think of it. But Rock and Roll's Royce. I wish they would have went ahead and recorded that, or at least that section of the song, that instrument break. That would have been cool. I wish they could have incorporated that into a different song like they've done with other riffs and stuff throughout the years. Track 3 is Don't You Hesitate. Good upbeat, Dress to Kill era originally.
Was that one also on the 40 compilation? They had one demo on there. Was that the one?
I can't remember if they put that one on there. I know this one was on the box set back when that came out.
Was it?
It's a Paul song. It's a good, it's kind of reminiscent of "Come On and Love Me" in a way, because Paul sings it, but then Gene and Paul kind of do the harmony, in the chorus and all that. So kind of reminiscent of "Come On and Love Me." I think it would have fit on "Dress to Kill" a lot better than, I don't know, if I had to take one away, like maybe Anything for My Baby or something like that. I probably would have swapped it for that song. Track 4, the demo version of Dirty Livin'. Way less disco-y and completely different from the version you're used to hearing on Dynasty. It's got more of a sort of a bluesy rock in a way, a little bit of acoustic in there going with it. It just sounds more gritty and not as upbeat and dancey as they tried to make the album version, even though considering what it's about.
I just wonder, and you guys probably know this, when a band does a demo, and I know there's various ways to do it, but like with Peter Criss, for example, do you think that how you think he did that? Because it was just him, right? According to a lot of the way the demos sound, it almost sounds like him, and then a drum track is like he's singing over a drum track, or there's guitars and stuff too. How do you think that worked out with him? And I'm talking about the ones he did when he was in Kiss, because I don't think they were in the same room.
Sometimes it would have been Kiss doing the demo of the song, or it may have just been Peter and maybe Ace at sometimes, or Peter and Paul. I don't think, as far as I know, that Peter really knows how to play guitar. Yeah. That he would have been able to just sit and do every instrument like Gene and Paul has done.
The reason I was asking is because it leads me to believe, like a lot of the interviews and stuff I've heard him say, is like, Peter brought these songs in. It's almost like he's like way over here doing his own thing, and then here's the stuff I come up with. So it's like, I know he was capable and had the money to hire somebody to play if he needed to. That's like some of that sounds like it's recorded on a boombox or something.
And that's where the producer comes in, because you could tell, like, listening to that demo in particular, that was pretty much like the next step would have been recording it for the album. Like, that was done. But then the producer comes in, well, how about we do this and this and this, and then it gets completely changed. And maybe Gene and Paul even had some input, because that has happened. Oh, how about we do this? Or I don't like this verse, let's do that. That type of thing. But yeah, the demo version better than the album version. Track 5, It Ain't the Smoke That Burns You, or sometimes it's just called Smoke. Just another killer track that should have been put on an album. Excuse me. And then the last song on side 1, Mad Dog, Gene song. of course, the riff ended up being one of the main riffs in Flamin' Youth. I don't believe none of the verse parts ended up being used for anything that I'm thinking off the top of my head. All right, so side 2, the first song, I'm gonna open up with Ace and "Don't Run," which was the original version of what became Dark Light from Elder, of course. I can't really say I like one better than the other, but I do love "Don't Run." I like the different vocals. I like it's a little bit kind of slower. There's something about that version I love just as much as Dark Light.
You think they changed the lyrics to fit in with the storyline for the Elders? You think that's what it was?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Because I'm not even sure what "Don't Run" would have been about, like what the story on that would have been, but I don't think it would have fit as well.
I was under the impression that was written for before they come up with the concept of the Elder, that it was also part of the 4 tracks that ended up on Killers. It was one of those tracks as "Don't Run," and then they changed it to fit into the Elder's concept or whatever. That's what I've always thought. And the reason I thought that is because it doesn't really. I mean, I don't know. I've never heard demos of those other 4 tracks on Killers. I don't know if you've ever heard those, I don't remember hearing them.
I don't think there are any demos of those that I've heard either.
But I used to have a compilation, and it had "Don't Run," and it went right into "Just a Boy," and I don't know when that was recorded. You know what I mean? It was a later one, obviously, because "Just a Boy" was probably for the Elder. I don't think that existed beforehand. So I don't know. It's sort of a odd thing, I thought.
Next track is Peter Criss. This is actually something he did after Kiss, but I think it would have been a great hit for Kiss, especially on the heels of Beth. Had that have happened before or after this. The track "Jenny Lee." I mean, it could have been a big hit for him had he ever put it on an album. I mean, it's a great song. Gets a lot of attention in the Kiss community. A lot of people, request to hear that track on, certain, like live broadcasts that play Kiss stuff and all that. It's really catchy. It's got a good melody. Obviously, he wrote it about his daughter. I think it would have been a huge hit for Kiss, let alone Peter. I don't know why he never officially recorded it. Track 9, again, this is one they never officially did a demo of, but the only versions out there are from the early live shows from '73, and then also the Loft practice that's out there, "Life in the Woods." Talk about something that doesn't even sound like a Kiss song. It sounds more like a Wicked Lester song. It's definitely different. I love hearing, in that stage of Kiss, it sounded like Peter was almost more of the mouthpiece at the time. Like if you listen to the live version, you can hear him sort of leading the crowd at times, and really kind of putting that energy into it. And Paul doing the rap, oh, we're not going to be here for a while, everybody come on. Like that was kind of their popular song at the time. Like, guess what song this is? And I kind of wish they would have done a proper demo for that too. But still a good track nonetheless. 10, Simple Type. Not much needs to be said about that. Of course, was a Wicked Lester song. Kiss did a good job of transforming it to fit them, but unfortunately didn't make an album either. Track 11, Night Fly. Another just like, why not? It should have been on the first album. And then closing out the album is Gene's song, "I'm a Star." It's just one of the quintessential Gene songs, really. If you think about it, it just kind of explains him, to a point.
See, I could see just from the title, I could see Paul singing that.
Mm-hmm.
Just, you know what I mean?
Well, just like we didn't think Paul originally wrote God of Thunder, and then come to find out, it's like, wow.
What were the odds of that?
Yeah.
Here you go, by the way.
That's it.
I got it for you.
You can send me a thank you letter for using it.
Yeah. That copyright infringement. I didn't draw the makeups on there, so you should be all right.
Yeah, but you drew the cod piece.
I did. I did, and that's just in case anybody can't read. That's Peter and Ace there, not Eric. So it's actually Kiss.
It's not the spaceman.
Oh man.
I just had an interesting idea for the cover too. Just incorporating some of these songs, like "It Ain't the Smoke," like have smoke on the cover. A dog, like have a dog in the background, like a vicious dog. Just a couple things like that. Like have some trees, like the woods. I think that'd be kind of cool. Like,
well, Sabbath did that on what was the one they did with Dio, where they had all the songs represented on the album cover.
Oh, Live Evil.
Was it Live Evil?
I think so.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right, what you got, Luke?
All right. Seeing how cohesive yours was, I should have gone first because yours was way more thought out.
Not really.
All right, so
I just have a good way of bluffing.
There you go. That's what it is. I'll lead you through my thought process here, and hopefully that will explain why it's a little all over the place. So
why it's all Peter stuff.
Right. I wanted to have kind of like Brant was saying. I wanted to have kind of an equal amount from everybody.
Mm-hmm.
At least have everybody represented somehow. So I kind of went through each person's set of things in the stuff there, and picked out my favorites from each one, and then I went through and listened to that and arranged it how I would arrange those songs were they on an album. However, several of them, I mean, there's no way some of these would be on an album together, unless it were a compilation. So I went ahead and called the album Time Traveler for that reason, just because it kind of, it pops around. But really, I think the common denominator time-wise would be probably around the Crazy Nights era. So I think if this album had to come out at a certain time, it probably would have been between Asylum and Crazy Nights. Although, of course, it couldn't have been that particular Kiss lineup either. Because, like I said, everybody's represented. So, hard to say there. So I went ahead and started off the album with Paul Stanley's Time Traveler. Good, solid track. I can't believe they didn't use that one. It's kind of mind-boggling.
Right.
So the second one, I went ahead and put Vinnie Vincent's That Time of Year, which demo version is in that stuff. I totally did not realize that the Vinnie Vincent Invasion actually did that song, which that happens a couple of times later in the list. I didn't look into some of these until after I had picked them, and then I went and searched and realized that a couple of them had been actually done. The third song was Bruce Kulick's Zeptune.
Oh, nice.
That was a cool instrumental piece. Fourth track, Gene Simmons' Street Legal, which was another good one. And let's face it, you just can't beat a good old Gene Simmons' I Might Be a Pedophile song. It goes right up there with Christine 16 and Domino, where you kind of wonder why he decided to write a song about that. But it is a good song.
And how come those two made it to an album when that one didn't?
I know, right? I think Street Legal would have fit perfect on Hot in the Shade. Again, I don't know why they didn't do that. Speaking of songs I wish they had done, the fifth one is Nightmare, the Eric Carr song, which it's labeled in there as Eric Carr, and I think you can hear him talking in the background, but really that demo is Bruce playing. Mm-hmm. But still, a solid tune. I wish they had lyrics. I'm sure they would have been really cool because the song's cool. The sixth track, possibly the weirdest on the entire thing, is Sweet Ophelia, the Wicked Lester song.
I love that song.
Oh, yeah. I had to put it on here because I wanted a Wicked Lester tune, and I liked that one a lot. And I'm like, that just ruins the album flow, but it's got to be in there.
See, Brandon, when you mentioned Wicked Lester earlier, I started thinking, like, oh, crap, I probably should have put that. But, yeah, I love that track.
Definitely. Coming out of Sweet Ophelia then was Council of the Elder. So
that's very night and day.
Exactly. We're just going to jump right to the opposite end. Right there. Which was a cool thing. I wish they had done more of that. I don't know, it gave me a vaguely progressive feel, which, is what I thought they were kind of going for on the Elder. So again, why wouldn't they go ahead and put it on there? I'm
probably
not sure.
Ezrin.
Yeah. And then the second occurrence of a song I didn't realize had made it past demo form, Peter Criss's Blue Moon Over Brooklyn, which was a surprisingly solid track. I went into the Peter Criss demos thinking I was going to spend the whole thing going, ugh.
Yeah.
But there were a lot of surprisingly solid takes in there. I was super impressed.
Yeah, I thought he was going to say the Budweiser commercial.
There was a lot of stuff in the Keep that I liked too. That all stuff. Actually, there were a couple of songs that I almost put instead of Blue Moon, but some of the vocals, I don't know who he had singing for him at some point in the 80s, but I could not handle it. Absolutely could not handle it.
I don't know off the top of my head either, but probably from that same period of Out of Control, or what was that other one? That second one he did.
Wasn't that song, that Blue Moon Over Brooklyn, wasn't that written about his mom passing away? I think
so.
I believe so. I think I want to say he just talks about that in his book, if I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that particular song ended up on that Cat Number 1 album, didn't it? Which was interesting. I found a live version of it, which was kind of cool. It's Peter kind of in the prime past Kiss, which was interesting. It's something I personally never looked into. Obviously I knew it existed, but I had never seen anything from it. So it was kind of cool to see him before, pre the reunion tour where you kind of had to wonder what happened.
Was that with him and Ace when they toured for the Bad Boys tour? Is that when it was?
I think so.
Oh, okay. So that was pre-reunion. I was going to say, did he have his teased up blonde hair at the time?
Yeah.
That would have been earlier. So
I saw related videos where he had that.
Yeah, when he's on Donahue confronting that imposter.
Yeah.
He's got that teeth. Why would you do it, man?
Oh, jeez. Okay, so number 9, Ace's Cherokee Boogie.
Oh, yeah.
Another unexpected solid. I saw the title and I was like, this is going to be stupid. And then it wasn't. Again, really good. And I personally have never liked Ace's voice that much, so finding a song that he didn't sing, I was there. I don't hate it, but I mean, talk to me. So
if only there was a demo of that.
God. And then I went ahead and bookended the album with Paul Stanley. The one track that I knew had to go on this somewhere before I listened to a single one, which was Sword and Stone.
Oh, yeah.
Which may be my favorite Kiss unreleased track of all time.
Nice.
Yeah. So it's definitely a very eclectic. It's more a collection than a cohesive album, but
that's a definite deep cut type of album.
Yeah.
Yeah, those two Paul songs, I used to have them on a cassette compilation that I ordered from, I don't know who, probably back in the 80s or whatever. And when I'd first heard them, not only are they, they're really listenable. It sounds like they were, I don't know if they were completely finished, but they sound like they were at least mixed and, partially there, if not more than that. And I wondered even then, it's like, where did these come from? How is this a demo? Why isn't it on a Kiss album? Because around Crazy Nights or right around in there, I think it would have fit perfect. Well, anything on the 80s, it would have fit right into any of those albums, pretty much, the later ones.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I didn't know about Time Traveler, but I've read, and I don't remember where. I know that I've read somewhere that Paul said specifically that Ron Nevison, the guy who produced Crazy Nights, didn't want Sword and Stone on the album, but I don't know about Time Traveler.
Interesting. Yeah, the whole thing with the Elder, I bet Ezrin had a little bit of input on that, 'cause I bet you they did have a little more of a proggy direction in that, but Ezrin was like, no, that's not Kiss, that's not how you guys sound. we gotta, make it sound more straight ahead like usual.
Well, on the CD, or I guess the vinyl too, after I, isn't that considered Council of the Elder when they're just talking at the end?
Mm-hmm.
So there's that's not obviously the same thing. I would just wonder, well, like you said, Luke. I mean, every song that they had, ready to go, I think they just should have just put it all on there. I mean, I don't know how many songs it would have been. Probably not a double album or nothing, but that would have been cool.
Right. Especially if it would have served to flesh the story out a little more, because it definitely does a poor job of that, just the music alone.
Yeah, for sure.
And considering that far into their career, it wouldn't have mattered if it was a double album. It's not like, the same thing with Kiss Alive. They did that just because it was cheap. At this point, for the Elder, they could have spent as much money on it as they wanted to, and it wouldn't have mattered.
Right.
So it's almost like with Bob Ezrin especially, you think it would have been more elaborate than it was instead of less elaborate.
Yeah, like nowadays, we've seen all, like comics that kind of tell the story of the Elder better and kind of tie all those songs and things like that. But I think had the album come with like a booklet back right at the time that pretty much did the same thing, it would have, put it into better explanation for everybody, and it may not have been canned right away like it was. Maybe people would have had a little better understanding of what it was meant to be.
It's funny that they didn't think of that, because they'd already done comic books.
Yeah.
So it almost seems like it had been natural for them to do that. It's like, I don't know. I don't think a lot of them were thinking clearly. I don't know what it was.
Yeah, and instead they wait till, what was it, probably mid-2000s when whatever, I think I have it. They did like a small series of the Kiss comics that are, the Elder, and it you see like the song references throughout the story, and it's like, oh, okay, I get that. And
it all comes together.
Yeah, it only took 20, 30 years, but
exactly, yeah. I kind of wonder if they knew before even it was released that it was going to flop, because they tours and stuff, they get booked before album releases, but they only did those couple of TV performances. So with the kind of subpar production and the lack of explanation and the lack of tour, it makes you wonder if at some point near the end of that album session they were all like, oh man, we screwed up.
Well, Ace hated it before it was even released, right? Like once they heard all the final, he hated it. He was embarrassed, and wasn't he against it kind of from the beginning? Because they were talking about doing like a Creatures-esque thing, and he was like, yeah, let's do it. And then suddenly it was like, now let's do a concept, and he's like, what? Really? So that was really the nail in the coffin for him. That's really what did it.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
If they had done something like Creatures, I think it would have been probably a comeback album, unlike Creatures really was. It was probably the poorest selling album at the time because of The Elder and Unmasked and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, they should have. I don't know whose idea it was to do The Elder exactly. I guess it was probably a mutual thing.
Yeah. I've always gotten the impression it was kind of Gene and Ezrin that were pushing it.
Probably. Yeah, because I think Paul was more interested in taking the makeup off at that time.
Yeah.
But they said
really
like Ezrin was all coked up and stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
So just did The Wall with Pink Floyd, and it was a big hit. So they thought, well, Kiss can do the same thing, and I think Kiss could have done the same thing. And you heard me go on and on about how The Elder is one of my favorite Kiss albums.
Same.
But I don't know. It just something about it is it's got a lot of mixed emotions when I think about it. It's like, well, why didn't they do it this way? Why wasn't it like this? And like the album cover, I love the album cover, but Kiss being a visual band, a lot of their album covers are not very visual, and the Elder especially. You know, I've heard the analogy where it just got buried in the record bins because it just blended in and it didn't. You want an album cover to stand out, and with the color of it alone, not necessarily the picture, but it's like, what in the world were they thinking? You know, I know Gene's never done drugs, but
you know, I've seen like fan, you know, their versions of what the cover should have been, and I like the one where it's the image that's on the front of Killers put over the what the Elder cover is. I think that would have been perfect.
Yeah,
The perfect image of the band, the way they looked at that time, those costumes. That's the main thing everybody wondered at that point. What do they look like? What, you know, there was nothing on that record, inside or out, that showed you what they looked like. You had to wait, you know, for magazines or those few TV appearances they did, and you know, because as we know, there wasn't tour, so it's like, you know, what's going on? What do they look like?
yeah, that's what Luke was saying about the pre-production of the tour and being booked and everything. Initially, they probably had in mind, okay, well, this is going to be the biggest tour we've ever done, you know, after Dynasty and Unmasked, which was the biggest one, you know, as far as that goes up to that point. I could imagine, I've said this before, what an Elder tour would have looked like.
Oh man, yeah.
Would have been, and I'm sure they had a lot of ideas floating around like before any tour. And it's like, where did it get shot down? You know, it's like, I know that back then album sales had a lot to do with what a band would do after that. But, you know, like Luke said, how did they not already have something booked up? You know, like okay, this is our first production of the Elder. We're going to be doing this, you know, one-off thing, you know, just to see how it would go, because around, I don't know, was like 83, Styx did that Kilroy Was Here tour, and it was like a big production with robots and stuff, and a lot of their fans, because they had done that originally the first time at a big festival that they were participating in, and I guess a lot of the fans just like walked out because it's like, this isn't Styx, this is not. What is going on? You know what I mean? If you behind the music, they talk about that a lot.
But that was arguably their biggest, you know, kind of what really got them in the spotlight in a way.
Yeah, because they had like 2 singles off that album, and it just, people still say Mr. Roboto is like one of the best songs. I mean, I like a lot of Styx earlier stuff, but I like that one too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You know, and we've heard about, you know, all Elder movies being made, or even like, you know, a stage play. It's like, I would love to see, like, Kiss could still do it now. I mean, just like combine the two, the stage play with Kiss performing live. You know, I could picture like Kiss is up on a little bit higher stage. You know, then you got the play going on below them, and you know, when it's time for the certain points to play the song, you know, Under the Rose, like, whatever it is.
Sort of like the Lane Bryant fashion show.
Yeah, you can have Gene come out and modeling, you know, cod pieces. And
be wearing a chainmail outfit.
So I wanted to ask you guys something before we move on. First of all, to give the listeners what I'm talking about. So there's this big collection. It's like 27 folders full of Kiss demos, unreleased songs, songs from bands that other members were in. I burnt those, gave them to Luke and Branton. That's kind of what we based all this on. I just wanted to ask you guys, was there anything that you heard that you never had heard before, or was there anything that really surprised you and was like, whoa, this is awesome, or was the whole thing like that?
That was pretty much me. The whole thing was, you know, there's all sorts of stuff that I'd never heard, things that I didn't know existed.
Mm.
Super interesting.
Yeah, because when I was going through it today, that's the second time I went through it, like I was saying before we started recording, I was getting sidetracked, because there's a lot of live material on there too. And there's this one clip from the King Biscuit Flower Hour where it's a show in Cleveland. And just before Paul does Rock and Roll All Night, there's this whole section, and it sounds like it's from the Alive album. It sounds like the same exact version. And it just starts where he says Rock and Roll All Night is all I'm used to hearing. But then there's this whole other section in the beginning. It's like, just hearing that, it's like that's the Alive sound, because it's the same recording. It's like that stuff there. It's like I just want to listen to the whole thing of that, and I will when we're done.
Yeah, that's funny. I was going to bring up that same exact part, that all that Alive stuff. It's like, yeah, it's like kind of the unedited version of Alive, and before they went in and kind of polished it up and everything. And I agree. I love just those little pieces of things that, us Kiss fans that know to catch that stuff, it's like, whoa, this is different.
As far as the Vinnie Vincent stuff, I hadn't heard any of that. As far as demo form, I mean, of course, Boys Are Gonna Rock and some of that's on the Invasion albums, but there's so much other stuff on there that's like, I'd never even heard. I don't know if any of that Warrior stuff is on there or not. I don't remember.
I think it is.
I think so. So I know there's like some White Tiger on there as well. Yeah, I really liked, like Eric Carr, his vocal audition of Shandy, and the drum stuff on there, and the original version of Car Jam with him and Ace, like the actual version of that. Just so many cool things on there. Just like stuff from the Kiss Meets the Phantom, like having Rip and Destroy, a fairly good quality recording of that. Just tons of stuff. I mean, I just love that collection. I go through that thing so much and just listen to all that stuff, and it's like,
Well, as far as the Alive, the stuff that's on there from Alive, did they record like 4 complete shows? Was it more than that for the Alive that either turned out good or didn't turn out? I mean, I've heard a couple different variations of that. As far as the story of it, that when they played it back, it didn't sound right. It sounded like crap or whatever. If you guys heard that, and then I don't know what happened exactly where they finally got it right. If Eddie Kramer had to step in before they could get it to where it sounded, the way they needed it to.
Yeah, I guess there was just too many flubs during the actual live recording, like whether notes were being missed or the pitch in their voice, or I know there was one particular time where Paul knocked his mic stand over, so you hear that, and then there's like a whole part with no vocals because of that, and different things like that. So I think that's why they ultimately decided to just go in and polish it. But I've also heard that the drums are all what was originally recorded live, not like none of that was really touched up. So I don't know how true that is, but I mean, I could see that, because to me it does sound like it is the live stuff. And then when you listen to like that King Biscuit stuff, or some of the other like outtake stuff from the Alive, it really does sound the same to me.
Yeah. So I would think it would be so practically impossible to get the same sound. It would almost, you'd have to start from scratch and just say it's live, even though it's definitely not, in order to get drums replaced.
And what was that? What was the story like? I think it was for the crowd noise. Like, he created just like a huge loop of crowd noise, and it was like running all through the studio and everything.
Well, and then with the live too, there's, I don't know if it's on this. I don't think it's on this compilation. The Lost Alive 2 show.
Yeah.
Which was that originally supposed to be the album, and then for some reason, a lot of the songs on there are studio versions, or they recorded them and put a live track behind it. I don't know if those were the same track listings or not.
Yeah, that is supposed to be the original, because that has the Take Me and Hooligan, and then if you notice, like even like Rocket Ride's a little bit different. I think there's like a longer section than that, or if I remember right. I think that's the only one out of those 4 tracks that were different from what it is on the album. But I'm pretty sure Rocket Ride and nothing else, but I don't think anything else was too different.
I wonder how the misprint came up, if that had anything to do with the misprint of the album.
It probably did, because see, I don't know the whole story, but I'm just assuming that when that album was getting ready to be put out, they told the label, okay, here's the track list, Take Me and Hooligan was included. So then they printed them up, and probably at the last minute, I don't know the reason why, but they pulled those tracks off. I don't know if they didn't like the way they sounded, or just didn't think it fit with the song listing. I don't know. But I mean, if you notice, even on the Lost Alive 2, there's tracks like Cold Gin and stuff on there too that they did that obviously they wasn't going to include on there too. But
because I know that with Alive 2, they were doing all songs that wasn't on Alive 1.
Right.
But then by the time they got to Alive 3, that didn't matter anymore for some reason. I mean, I don't have a preference one way or the other, but it's funny that the time Alive 3 came around, it's like, okay, now we're going to do the best of Alive 1 and Alive 2, throw some current stuff in too. I mean, they didn't say that, but that's basically what it is.
And then Paul went through that period where like every song he announced came off of Alive instead of the actual studio album. This comes off Alive.
Probably because he didn't know the album until Tommy would say, "Oh no, that's Rock and Roll Over."
Yeah.
Tommy knows all of that, all the albums that Paul really didn't know.
Yeah, this is kind of funny. This one comes off Alive.
I've even seen footage of different times, like in the 2000s and more currently, where he'll say, "That's on Asylum, isn't it?" And he'll look over at Tommy, and Tommy will do that. Still isn't sure on something, and I can understand. They record an album and then they move on. It's not like a Kiss fan that sits and listens to them and knows everything about them. I mean, Kiss fans probably know more than Kiss does. That's probably with any band.
Yeah, I think as far as like the little minutia and little things, we tend to remember because obviously they're going to forget that kind of stuff. With everything they do and as busy as they are, they probably don't remember a lot of the little minuscule details like. I hate to bring up the Rise to It video, but they probably forgot what the actual costumes were supposed to look like for that at that point in time.
Yeah.
Well, there's a video on YouTube, and I haven't watched it yet. You know how it comes up in your like on your homepage or whatever, and it says what was Paul and Gene thinking for the Rise to It video, and I want to watch that to see if there's any relevance to because some people just put a title and then it's like
That was 3 sides. I think that was a week or 2 ago. That was a good episode.
Was it? I need to watch that because I couldn't remember who it was.
I know we sort of touched on it a while back too in the show, but yeah, I mean they pretty much said everything that we agree with, and just how asinine it was. The costumes looked horrible, the makeup looked horrible.
Well, what year was that? The Hot and Shade was in '89.
Yeah.
So, is it? I mean, I don't understand. Okay, if you're going to put the makeup on, why not have the band perform that way in the video?
Yeah, kind of didn't make sense.
So
it was kind of like, why even do it in the first place? Like, what's that have to do, and what does it have to do with the song either?
Yeah,
right.
Not a thing.
Well, and at the time, Kiss was not really about their past. They seem to want to go beyond that a lot of times in interviews and things. Oh, well, we'll never get back together. We'll never put back on the makeup. And then they do a video like that. It's like, okay, that came out of left field, really.
Yeah, I don't know if they or the director of the video thought it'd be a good idea and, something to get the fans worked up or, because then they did that. I think it was the Rip magazine. They were on the cover. In that makeup and costume, and everybody's just like, "What? What is this?
Yeah,
this is horrible."
There's a similar thing too in the, that movie Why Him that just came out recently, and there's scene that's floating around, the lost scene or whatever.
Yeah.
And they're talking about 1984, and they say they were on the Creatures of the Night tour.
Yeah, yeah.
No, they weren't.
Yeah, I remember that. And I will admit, when I was young, I was probably 8, 9 years old when Hot in the Shade. I remember thinking that was cool at first, like, oh my god, you got the. But as years went on, it's just like, oh my god, that's hideous.
Gene's costume's all broke.
Doesn't even match. What's he wearing? Like the it's like the top of the Dynasty, and I forget what else. And then Paul's like jacket's all tight and everything. It's like the actual Love Gun.
I sort of felt that way a little bit, not quite to that extreme, but when the reunion, I had a lot of the bootlegs of the reunion. Gene's hair was like really thick and really, it wasn't cut the same way as it was back when he was wearing it with the ponytail and stuff. And, his bat wings and stuff on the suit that he had, which was a new suit. But if you look as time went on, it got more the way it was supposed to be back from like Love Gun, which is supposed to be the starting point where the reunion was. And there was things that it's like, that doesn't look right. Peter's makeup design around his eye is not quite the right, being a Kiss fan, you've noticed a lot of that stuff. And it's like, there were certain things that they would have never even thought about, because they look at a picture of Love Gun, they say, make these costumes, and like with the hair, they probably never thought anything about their hair, because Paul's hair was a lot longer then too, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Not quite as long as it was, like, I don't know, when the Hide Your Heart video, his hair is a lot longer, but I don't know, I just noticed that from the beginning of the reunion tour. It just seemed like, okay, they need to tweak a few things, and I'm sure that someone brought it to their attention somehow.
Yeah, because like Gene, something just didn't look right with Gene's costume on the reunion. It looked like it was too small or something compared to the way it looked in the Love Gun era. There was just something always kind of odd. Peter, I always remember Peter just wore like a plain, like, I don't know, like a black like spandex type shirt or something. He never played with the the straps. And
I think the thing is, out of the four, I think Paul looked the closest.
Yeah.
I think the reason for that is because Paul is probably more of a perfectionist than the other three guys. So I think that's where some of that comes from too.
And Ace looked good, but I mean, the only thing about Ace, obviously, I mean, because of aging, there's obviously his face looked a little different in the makeup. Yeah, it's right. From all the aging, the smoking, the drugs, all that stuff. That does it to you.
I noticed with his hair too. He wore his hair straight down in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
So with the makeup, back when he wore makeup originally, he had to start parting it. And if you notice, it wasn't parting. I don't know if he had to put something on it for a while until they got going. I don't know if it was the reunion or maybe after that, his hair was natural. And by the way, I noticed today, I was looking on whatever social media where he just played with Alice Cooper. He did a couple songs with Alice Cooper. And I've noticed when he did that photo a month or two ago, whenever it was, where he's standing like this.
Yeah.
In front of that fountain or whatever it is.
Yeah.
His hair, correct me if I'm wrong, but it looks to me like since then up till now, he's had a hair transplant.
Huh.
And the reason I say that is because before the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, like way before, his hair was real thin on top, and he was combing it back, and you could tell how thin it was. And if you look at him now, it's straight down, and it's real thick. So I just wonder if he's had a hair transplant, which there's nothing wrong with that, but it just seems like it, because I don't think he's wearing a wig.
No, I'd like to know where he went, though. They did a good job.
Yeah. Ace, if you're watching...
Well, did you guys notice too? Like, I think it was more the farewell era. He sort of dyed his hair a little bit. Like there was a little bit of like a lighter brown in it or something, like almost a blondish brown in a way.
He grabbed the wrong bottle, probably.
Well, all right, we're going to move on, and we're going to bring back an old segment we used to do. the trivia. So if anyone used to enjoy that part, it's back. Hey, if you don't care, you can end the show now. It's all up to you. So I'll do the questions this week. So Luke against Branton. What we'll do, we'll do 20 questions. Whoever has the most after 20 is the winner. You win a cake with a midget in it jumping out.
No, I'll take the cake without the midget.
And we'll do, all these will be multiple choice as well, instead of just, what was this and answer.
Well, before we start, I got to be really fresh, to do these questions to try to win.
You gotta
So
go.
I got to go empty my bladder.
Okay.
Sounds like a good idea.
And I was gonna say too, both guys you'll get a skip. So if there's a question you don't know, you can skip, do a different question. So we'll be right back. Are you guys ready?
Suppose.
Yeah, I suppose I'm ready.
We will start with Luke, I guess. All right. Again, these are going to be multiple choice. So, question 1. Eric Carr replaced Peter Criss as the drummer of Kiss in 1980. In what venue was Eric's first show? Was it Madison Square Garden, Radio City Music Hall, the Beacon Theater, or the Palladium?
Palladium.
That is correct. All right, Branton. Kiss's first performance at Madison Square Garden took place on what tour? Destroyer, Love Gun, Dress to Kill, or Rock and Roll Over?
I'll say Destroyer. I don't.
That would be correct.
It's a wild guess.
Yeah, that would have been my guess too. I wasn't sure.
I was going to say The Elder, but
All right, Luke. What was the address of the famous loft where Kiss rehearsed during 1973? Was it 10 East 23rd Street, 125 Madison Avenue, 77 Broadway, or 14 West 79th Street?
I'm going to say it was the 10 East 23rd.
Yes. All right, Branton. In what club were Kiss playing in the late summer of '73 when Bill Aucoin, their future manager, discovered them? Was it the Bleecker Street Loft, the Hotel Diplomat, the Beacon Theater, or Max's Kansas City?
Hotel Diplomat.
Right on.
I'm glad these are multiple choice. I'm recognizing them when I hear them, but I never would have pulled this stuff out of thin air.
Right.
Yeah.
Makes it a little easier.
That's a lot easier that way.
I remembered the Palladium, but after that...
All right, and we're tied 2 apiece right now. So, Luke, in what New York City recording studio did Kiss record their arguably most famous album, Destroyer? Was it the Waxworks, Electric Lady Studios, the Record Plant, or Bell Sound Studios?
I'm going to go with Electric Lady.
Electric Lady would be correct.
That was almost a trick question.
Yeah.
All right, Branton. Kiss's first gig occurred on January 30th, 1973, at a club that had been calling itself the Popcorn Pub. However, on the first night Kiss played, the club changed its name to what? Queen's Music Hall, the Hotel Diplomat, Coventry, or the Daisy?
I think it was Coventry.
Yes.
That's sort of a one you have to think about because the Daisy, that was like right in there.
Yeah, it's almost tricky, you know, because they kind of played them both.
Exactly. I remembered Coventry, and when you said Daisy, that's when I was like, uh-oh.
Okay, Luke. All four of the original members of KISS hail from New York City. Who was the first member not from New York City? Was it Vinnie Vincent, Eric Carr, Mark St. John, or Eric Singer?
I'd say Vinnie.
You know, I got to double check that.
That's what I would have said off the top of my head, but I'm not 100% sure either.
Yeah, I know it wasn't Eric, but to be honest, I don't remember where Vinnie was from.
Well, he was from Connecticut, is that true?
Yeah, I think you're right.
And then Singer is Cleveland. Beyond that, I'm not sure right off.
Okay, so yes, Vinnie Vincent is correct. He is from Connecticut.
Sweet.
Well, see, you already knew that because you played, so just wouldn't know that.
And he's from Connecticut. All right.
By the way, you used the bow on your guitar solo yet?
I need to do that. I got to find a better thing to do than he did.
All right, question 8, Branton. Atop of what famous New York City skyscraper did KISS pose for some very memorable photos in 1976? The World Trade Center, the Empire State Building, the Chrysler Building, or the New York Life Insurance Building?
The Empire Strikes Back.
You are correct.
We were just talking about that the other night, weren't we?
Yeah. How I would never... I couldn't even hardly get off the wall of the Empire State Building, let alone sitting on a ledge.
Well, and it looks like Peter is like... It looks like he's right on the corner of the building, and he's holding on. It's like, I don't know if he really was that close to the edge, but I wouldn't... And I'm not afraid of heights, and I wouldn't do that.
From what... oh my God, what's his name? I was just reading his book. The photographer.
Bob Gruen?
No, oh my God.
Is it the Daisy?
Huh?
Is it the Daisy?
Barry Levine.
That's it.
In his book about that, he said that that's actually a... it's up a little bit higher, but so it looks like they're like literally on the edge of nothing, but there's actually that other platform below that sticks out a little farther. And from what he said, Gene and Paul were actually the less hesitant about it, which is kind of surprising knowing Gene nowadays. And Peter and Ace were the ones that were actually really, freaked out. That's why they're holding on so tight.
I can't imagine the feeling of doing that.
Yeah. It's like I was telling them the other night, I've been on top of the Empire State Building, and as soon as I got off the elevator, I was just like stuck up against the wall, like, yep, looks fine.
Not only that, but just wearing those platform boots and all that outfit and stuff would automatically make me even more paranoid.
Okay.
I was just looking at those pictures again, too, and I can't tell, but it almost looks like Ace doesn't have any makeup on his eyes.
Really?
Like, his entire eyelid looks skin color.
Huh.
Weird.
You probably forgot.
So...
It's like, oh, gotta have makeup on for this?
Oops.
I'm the spaceman. I don't need makeup.
So we were tied still for a piece. Question 9. This is Luke, right? What is the New York City street intersection where the cover photo of Kiss's third album, Just to Kill, was shot? Was it Bleecker Street and Village Avenue, Avenue of the Americas and 10th Street, Broadway and West 5th, or West 23rd Street and 8th Avenue?
I'm going to go with Broadway and West 5th.
Okay, again, I need to double check that. You said Broadway and West 5th?
Yep.
That is incorrect. Brandon, do you want to take a shot?
I don't remember what you said, but the first one, Bleecker Street and something or other.
That's also incorrect. The answer was West 23rd and 8th Avenue.
Yeah.
Okay. So still tied at 4. So we're at Branton, question 10. On October 1st, 1976, Kiss played a short set of Led Zeppelin and Beatles covers at a local New York City restaurant. The occasion was the birthday of Howard Marks, the head of their advertising agency. What was the name of the restaurant? I don't even know this. Was it Lutece, Lutece, Puglia, the Rainbow Room, or the Four Seasons?
The first one you couldn't pronounce.
Lutece or whatever. That is incorrect. Do you want to take a shot, Luke?
Sure, I'll this is a shot in the dark too. I'm going to say the Rainbow Room.
Also incorrect. The answer was Puglia. It was a popular restaurant in Little Italy.
Oh, didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't know a thing about that entire event. That was 100% right.
Yeah, I would have liked to see some video from that, I'm sure. Were they in makeup? Probably not.
Probably not. Okay, I also need to make an amends because there were 2 other questions that were actually wrong. Question 2 regarding the Madison Square Garden performance. Brandon, you said Destroyer. It was Rock and Roll Over.
Okay, because that's what I thought. That's what I was going to say at first, but I wasn't really sure.
So I'm going to mark that. And then question, let's see. And then this would have been Luke, where they recorded Destroyer. He said Electric Lady. It was actually the record plant. My apologies. So we are still tied at 3, though, nevertheless. All right, so the next or the last set of questions here are going to be the Kiss song lyrics. I'll give you a lyric and you tell me what song it came from. And let's see, we left off with, well, actually you both tried to, that was your question, Brenton, I believe?
Which?
The last one?
Restaurant one, yeah.
Okay, so we'll start with Luke on here. Okay, what song is this lyric from? I Want Your Hornet's Nest. Is it Burn Bitch Burn, Any Way You Slice It, All Night, or Ladies' Room?
Is that Any Way You Slice It?
You are correct. Any way you slice it. Alright, Branton. What tune is this from? All the victims have turned to stone. Is it Naked City, Killer, Back to the Stone Age, or Russian Roulette?
Naked City.
I want to say you're right. Let me double check. Yes, Naked City is correct.
Like one of my favorite songs on Unmasked.
Yeah, I think I was ranting about it last week or so. I love the bass line in that song, man. Okay, and Luke, which song do you find this lyric? I'm in love and it feels so good 'cause I need her. Is it Come On and Love Me, Love Gun, Love Her All I Can, or Anything for My Baby?
That's a trick question, too.
Yeah, I can almost picture it. I'm going to go with Love Her All I Can.
That is incorrect. You want to take a shot, Branton?
Anything for my baby.
Correct.
See, I didn't know which one it was. I just thought those two.
Yep.
Don't mistreat her.
Those are almost like the same song in a lot of ways. They sort of they're real similar.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the beginning is like kind of similar to Rock and Roll All Night. That little doom doom doom.
Yeah.
Wasn't Lover All I Can? Wasn't that like one of their earliest songs?
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
one of
that-
the Wicked
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, that's a Wicked Lester track. She was a Wicked Lester track. Okay, so we're at Branton. Alright. Sometimes you say you don't want my love today. Is that from X-Ray Eyes, Radioactive, Calling Dr. Love, or Ladies in Waiting?
X-Ray Eyes.
Correct. Okay, Luke, this is a song lyric, by the way. I'm not accusing you of this.
All right.
You taped our sexy conversations and you sold them to the BBC. Is that Exciter, Heart of Chrome, Spit, or Take It Off?
That's oh crap. What were the suggestions again?
It's Exciter, Heart of Chrome, Spit, or Take It Off.
All right. Yeah. Heart of Chrome.
Correct. So we're at Branton has 6, Luke has 5. This is Branton's question. Again, this isn't a suggestion to you. This is a song lyric. Baby, feel my tower of power. Is that Calling Dr. Love, Radar for Love, Mr. Speed, or Hot and Cold?
Hot and Cold.
Correct, Hot and Cold. I was wrong myself.
Yeah, anything with lyrics, because normally I'm terrible with lyrics.
I know a lot of these I would be too, because a lot of these I haven't known.
When you said lyrics matched to songs, I'm like, oh, this is gonna be no problem. And then every single one so far has been like, oh, crap.
Okay. Luke. Stick around till you get the truth. Is that Get All You Can Take, Flaming Youth, Modern Day Delilah, or Long Way Down?
I'm gonna say Get All You Can Take.
That's incorrect. Brandon?
Long Way Down.
Correct.
See, it was between those two because I didn't know which one it was.
Yeah, I knew it definitely wasn't Flaming Youth.
Right.
Okay, question 8 for Branton. I got no reason to apologize. Is that All American Man, Lick It Up, Tomorrow and Tonight, or Silver Spoon?
What was the first one?
All American Man.
What was the last one?
Silver Spoon.
I say it's Silver Spoon.
Yeah, that's right.
Just because I'm not as familiar with that, and it didn't seem to fit the other ones.
That one I remembered.
Well, essentially the game's over at 9-5, but we have 2 questions left for pride's sake. All right, Luke. The jealous and the lonely, they try to keep us apart. Is that Nothing Can Keep Me From You, 1,000,000 to 1, I'll Fight Hell to Hold You, or Time Traveler?
God.
Yeah.
You
Well-
should get double points for that one.
Yeah. I'm gonna say Nothing Can Keep Me From You. It just seems like it fits the title.
Nothing Can Keep Me From You is incorrect.
Pooh.
Branton.
Give me the songs again.
Nothing Can Keep Me From You, A Million to One, I'll Fight Hell to Hold You, or Time Traveler.
And what was the clue?
The Jealous and the Lonely, They Try to Keep Us Apart.
I do not know.
Answer is I'll Fight Hell to Hold You. All right, last question. This is Brenton. Many times I've felt alone. Is it Getaway, Hard Times, Going Blind, or Black Diamond?
Getaway.
That's right. So, final score, Brenton 10, Luke 5.
Holy crap.
How did I get that many? I'm sure that's right.
Yeah, that's even with each of you getting a wrong answer that I had to mark off previously.
Well, I'm going to tell Kat to watch this episode because me and her talk all the time about she knows lyrics to everything and I don't know lyrics to anything.
Ah.
So,
hey, get her on the show. We'll do a lyrics quiz with her.
I'll go back to Kiss. So,
or
if we'd have done
Springsteen.
the lyrics for anybody else, yeah. If it was Bruce Springsteen, forget it.
See, this stuff's fun. I can just get to going forever on doing trivia.
Well, yeah, I'd say Kiss is due for like a new game or something to come out because they haven't had anything like that in a while. They've been doing like the last thing they put out was
Right. So I guess that means next week Luke will ask the questions for me and Branton. So, all right. So that's trivia. It's back. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Felt like that was a little better than the way we used to do it. You know, doing just a set amount of questions, multiple choice, all that stuff instead of, you know.
Yeah, multiple choice is easier because trying to come up with the answer in your own brain without any choices, that doesn't work for me.
And neither of you guys used the skip either. That's impressive, but maybe you should have.
Yeah.
All right, so on that note, we're going to wrap this one up then until next week. And you guys have anything you wanted to mention before we get out of here?
Be sure to support your local KISS group.
Yes, keep supporting all the tribute bands. It's the next best thing.
Send them a thank you note.
Yes. Go to Walmart.com and pick up the Biogenesis CD. Discovered it's on there. And we'll keep you guys posted on the show. Working on a possible New Year's Eve show for the tribute band, speaking of Sweet Pain. That's coming up. Stay posted to our Facebook page. You know, subscribe to the YouTube channel. We'll talk about it here on the show too if we get it finalized. So until then, we'll see you guys next week.